Today we'll have another go at the dyno. This time I'm going to my local dyno. The guy was on some working trip or another, but now he should be there. So, the dyno sheet doesn't look quite what I'd like it to. Up until here, the torque looks good. It's around 310 Newton meters on flywheel, but then after 3000 RPM, the torque starts to rapidly dwindle away, and by 5000 we are already down to 250 Newton meters. Then it goes a little bit up when the Vanos turns the intake cam, and then it continues dropping, and by 6500 we're already down to 220 Newton meters. So not very good result. In M52 with a mild tune, the torque should rise up to around maximum value, around 300 RPM, 3000 RPM, and then it should stay there in fairly consistently until 5500, 6000, and then it starts usually dropping a little bit. Of course, there's a little bit of peaks and valleys in the torque curve, but it should average in 300 Newton meters for my engine, so something is a bit off. Here's the dyno sheet from a month ago. In this one, the RPM figures are off, and actually the dyno pull only goes to around 5000 RPM. So the RPM scale is off, and also the torque scale is off. But in this one we can see that the torque curve looks as it should. It rises to the peak value, and then it stays there until 5000 RPM. So between these two sheets something has clearly changed. So now I need to figure out what's the problem with the engine. One thing I noticed was that there was this kind of rattling coming from the exhaust, especially when you lift the throttle. You could hear it on idle and also when driving with the window open. So I took off the exhaust and checked what was making the rattling noise. It actually wasn't anything serious. On the O2 sensors there's that small metal cup that protects the sensing tip of the O2 sensor, and one of those had come loose and was in the exhaust near the cat. The O2 sensor still works, but I'm not quite happy with the exhaust anyway. This section is fine, it's custom made stainless steel, and the rear section, the cat back, that's fine, that's also quality stainless steel. But this section here is made of aftermarket exhaust for E36 328i, and the quality is not very good. I hope you can see on the camera that the bends in this are just horrible. So I wasn't happy with that. I'm making an upgrade in that regard. This is Supersprint Sport stainless front section for E36 328i. It doesn't have cuts in it, and the quality is quite a lot higher than on this one. I just need to cut it up a little bit, because the shape in this area doesn't really match what I have here. This is what I've custom made for the car myself, and it's there's this sharp turn because of the long gearbox. So I need to cut off these pipes from this section, and I need to cut off these pipes and then mock it up in the car and tack these pipes in the Supersprint resonator. I cut off the end of the cat because I need to keep these pipes as intact as possible. So I'll cut off the remains of this end of the cat housing and just grind the pipes smooth so I can enter them in the Supersprint resonator. For this one, I need to do the opposite of what I just did. So I need to lop off these pipes, and then I need to clean up the holes so I can enter my old pipes in this section. The best tool for this job would be a straight grinder, but I don't have one, so I need to find out which of the tools that I have at hand would work best. I'm going to try a drill with a grinder bit, but this might be a little bit hopeless, and for sure it's not good for the drill. So if you care about your drill, don't do this, but this one I don't care about. It's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. It's doing a sort of okay job at eating away the metal. Still, it will take quite long to get this cleaned up, but I have time. Now the holes are cleaned up, and the pipes will go in nicely, or mostly nicely. I may need to do a little bit of fitting. Just by looking at these exhausts, I know that I will have a problem with these hangers, or not so much as a problem as a need to adjust them, because the resonator in the Supersprint exhaust is a lot bulkier than what I have here, and in this one the hangers are bent So the exhaust will actually hang lower under the car. I think that's about as hot as I can get it. Let's see if it bends. Yeah, it bends nicely. This is kind of eyeballing, but I need to get this around 60 millimeters. I need to get this hook around 60 millimeters from the top of the muffler, so it will need to bend a little bit more. Yeah, that's about it. Another difference between the hangers is that this one has a round hanger, and the exhaust rubbers that I was using with it fit nicely in the round hanger. This one is made of a flat bar, and I can stretch this rubber over the flat bar, but it doesn't fit very well, so I think I'll cut this a little bit narrower, so I have a better fit for this hanger rubber. So we trim around 5 millimeters from the edges. I guess not too much, so we don't compromise the stiffness. And this is where I will have a hard time filming this, so you can actually see anything. I hope you can see something. So that pipe goes in there. And the exhaust hanger goes around there. Another rubber goes here, and it seems to be quite all right. There is a little bit of room for vibration before it touches the bottom of the heat shield. That's about where I want to have the exhaust. Next I need to trim these pipes to fit between the muffler and the headers. It's a bit hard one to measure, but just by eyeballing, I think I will need to cut off at least 20 millimeters from this pipe, which makes sense because it's actually It actually went in quite far in the cat housing the previous time. And the second one. It seems like it's the same 20 millimeters from this one. I'll mark here what I feel is close to the correct length without overdoing it. Let's see how we did. It feels like the length is really close to correct. I just need to get this pipe into the muffler and it will be alright, but it feels like a pretty tight fit. Yeah, that's the way. That feels very much right. Now it's very easy to just put a few welding tacks here and then take the exhaust off the car and weld it completely. And how about the other one? It looks like the cross section is not completely round. There are some imperfections. It's a little bit oval in this way, so I will give it a little bit of squeeze. Let's see if it goes in now. Yeah, it feels like that did the trick. I think that should be enough to keep them from moving while I remove the exhaust from the car. I warn you beforehand, this might not be pretty because I'm not really a welder. And the other seams I tacked myself, and then I took the part to an actual welder who TIG welded it. So these are very nice seams. But this one I'm going to do by MIG or MAG. It's I have a stainless steel wire, but it's a flux core, so it tends to spatter a little bit. It will not be quite as nice as these seams, but it will be done today. Rather than taking it to welder and then waiting to get it back. I got my memory card full there, so I didn't film everything. But me doing these welds is probably something you didn't really want to see anyway. These are some pretty ugly welds, but they should be strong enough and not leak too much. Now it's time to install the exhaust system back in the car. Let's see if she sounds any different. No real difference to what she sounded before. There's maybe just ever so slightly more rasp in the sound, but that's no surprise. Mostly the sound is defined by the rear muffler, which is still the Scorpion catback.